Welcome to another tutorial here at Crafts and Drafts. Today we are doing wood burning. This is one of our more popular crafts. It's especially popular in the winter time because it kind of smells like a campfire while you're doing it. Here at Crafts and Drafts, this is actually one of our longer crafts that we do. Make sure you have plenty of time if you decide to do this. A number of our crafts, it is very much dependent on how complicated of a design you choose to do. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be doing something just very simple just to show how to do wood burning. Feel free to make it as complicated as you want if you come in or if you decide to do this at home. All right, so let's go over our materials. So of course I have my Crafts and Drafts wood burning instructions here. I've got my wood burning board. It's important to use a hard wood. If you're not being provided the board at Crafts and Drafts, definitely use a harder wood. Softer wood like balsa wood, things or pine, you'll be able to dig into it just a little too much, and the pressure of the wood burning pen will just kind of like melt into the wood, and you don't want that. It creates for a really bad finished product. I also have some wood stain here. Never put on wood stain before you do wood burning, but I'm keeping this here so that I can show you it at the end. And then also for our wood stain, we've got our paint palette, makeup sponges. This is just kind of for staining towards the end. For adding color, I've got colored pencils here. I've got a piece of scrap wood just for testing the heat of my wood burning pen. I've got a pencil for tracing my lines. I've got my plastic stencils that's just gonna give me the base of my design. I've got my painter's tape for keeping my stencils in place. I've got my hanging equipment here. So this is just a couple of D-rings, some little screws, and some wire, and of course a screwdriver for attaching that. And then I have my safety equipment over here. This craft does require a waiver here at Crafts and Drafts. So if you sign the waiver, the safety materials are optional if you find that they get in the way. I personally don't wear gloves while wood burning, but if you want to, because the wood burning pen will get hot if you're using it for a long period of time, feel free to do so. The first step with wood burning, I always tell people, do not turn your pen on until you are ready to start actually burning. Get your design set up first, and then turn the pen on and give it about 5 to 10 minutes to heat up. We're gonna do just a pretty simple design. Got my plastic stencil, and we're gonna use some painter's tape just to keep it in place, and then we'll trace. So wood burning always seems pretty intimidating to people, and I think the reason is because you do see some really cool designs that amazing artists freeform, but it is perfectly acceptable to just take a plastic stencil, trace your design, and use that to create a really nice wood burning. And again, just make sure if you do decide to bring in your own piece of wood to wood burn at Crafts and Drafts, or if you're doing this at home, make sure that the wood you're burning has no paints or stain or any kind of finish on it, because if it does, it can be really toxic. So you want to make sure it's a completely blank piece of wood free of any of that. Let's take a look. Yeah, I think that looks nice. All right, so set this off to the side. It's very important if you use a plastic stencil, remove the plastic stencil before you start wood burning. You would be surprised how many times we have had people start wood burning and then, we smell some burning plastic and have to have them very quickly remove that. So just make sure that you are removing any plastic or vinyl stencils, anything that's not safe for having a super hot pen on. All right, so I've got my design here and we are ready to start burning. So the first step is we're going to turn our wood burning pen on. So this particular wood burning pen from Walnut Hollow, you want to just turn on. I have it plugged in already, and then you also want to do the on switch. This is going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to heat up, and you want to make sure that it's securely in place and that you're using the right material to protect your space. So what I have here is a heat protective mat. I'm also using some painter's tape to just make sure that I keep my wood burning stand in place for whenever the pen is not in use. You can also tape the cord, to the table to also make that easier, especially if you're with a group of people. You just want to make sure you're protecting yourself and the people around you. Let's give this a few minutes to heat up, and then we will come back and start doing some burning. All right, welcome back. So we've given our wood burning pen a few minutes to heat up. And we've got our scrap wood here, so just to make sure we're not messing up our wood burning board, we can just kind of test out the burn on here. So the trick with wood burning, and this is really important, people always want to like dig in or push down really hard. That's actually the opposite of what you want to do. What you really want to do is just use a very light touch and just glide the pen across the board and give it enough time to like get a nice little like burn on there, but not so much that you end up with a whole bunch of like jagged spots or things like that. Here at Crafts and Drafts, we start everyone out with a tip like this with a writing nib. It might not look exactly like this. Some of them are more pointed than others. But the point is, the first step of wood burning is to just trace your lines. We always recommend tracing your lines first because it can take a while. And you don't want to find yourself overcommitting to like filling in every single one of these things if you don't want to spend, a good 3 hours working on it. And we're just gonna keep kind of moving the board around to make it comfortable. And just know that it is normal for some of the heat to sort of fluctuate in and out of your pen. So if you feel like you're going along and you didn't get a great burn in one spot, no biggie, just go back on over that section. I know you can't smell this through the screen, but it smells really amazing. Again, it's just that really nice campfire smell. It's very, very comforting. So we've traced all of our lines now, and I think it's looking really nice. It's worth noting that, of course, we do start everyone off with the writing nib. I recommend people starting with the writing nib, even if you're at home, and tracing your design first. There are other tips that are available here at Crafts and Drafts. You do have to ask for them, but we do have other tips that are available if you decided you wanted to shade this in or add some kind of more texture detail. That is a possibility. So ask. If you decide to switch tips though, turn off the pen, let it sit and completely cool off for about 5 to 10 minutes before changing tips out. So that's very important. And also just make sure you're never handing a hot pen to one of our staff members or to someone else. Again, just always remain very mindful that this is a high heat tool. It will burn you if you touch it. I am done with the wood burning portion of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, and we're gonna let this cool down completely. It's just gonna sit there nicely. I've got everything else pretty cleared away, so it is safe. So the next thing, if you wanted to add some stain, you could. I'm just going to add a little bit. I recommend going really light with it, and then you can just kind of layer it on should you choose to. And we use a non-toxic stain, it's like a no fume kind of stain. If you are using a toxic one, just make sure you're doing this outside. We're in a very well ventilated area. All right, so we've got this now. I'm not gonna stain the whole board because I actually might go back and add some little flowers here and use this as an example. So another option, another thing that you can do is just adding some color. And with the stain, you're not gonna be able to see it quite as clearly. I recommend using colored pencils rather than paint, because paint will actually cover up your wood burning lines, whereas colored pencils are just going to accentuate it. All right, and that is wood burning. Hope you come in, hope you enjoy it. If you're doing this at home, good luck and have fun.